I look at the book I wrote, The Compass Solution, and the analogy to what we're dealing with here is almost picture perfect. In fact, the book begins talking about a trekker who's trying to figure out a career. I know in my case, when I started in my corporate career, I was 24 years of age. I didn't have an idea of a path. I didn't have an idea of where and who I would reach out to. I simply wanted to work hard and maybe someday get promoted. That's probably not the kind of ideals that you want when you move into a career, but that was about all I had. In the years that followed, as I began to embrace this notion of personal accountability, things began to change for me. But they didn't really change until I began to identify the second cardinal point. And boy, it is so very relevant here in Moab. The Crucible is predicated on the notion of people working together as an interdependent team, taking care of one another, communicating, making sure that there are clear expectations of what we need to do and when we need to do it. If we had in our careers the kind of setup that we have here in Moab with the Crucible, we'd probably have a lot more success. But the reality is we don't generally have guides. We don't really have markers, and we don't really have signals that tell us if you're on the trail or off the trail. And so if you're like I was, you simply find your way. Part of the time you forage, and part of the time you're lost, and part of the time you may be on the track, and part of the time you're not. But the reality is you don't have a GPS system. No one hands it to you when you start your career. No one says to you, this is how you're going to navigate your career. I wrote The Compass Solution because it's about as close to a GPS as you're ever going to see in your career. It also introduces the second cardinal point of the compass, which is people. Your ability and your capacity to work with others, to create bonds, to create teamwork, to create common approaches, constancy of purpose. I spent a lot of time in the book in the second cardinal point with specific chapters that talk about what it takes to be a great people professional. When I started, I thought, you know what, as long as you keep your head down and work hard, probably good things will happen to you. Not the case. You're part of an ecosystem now that demands that you can't just be average when it comes to people skills. You have to be outstanding when it comes to people skills. The chapters that support the people cardinal point will give you further information on exactly what's involved in being a great people player in your organization.